Okay guys, so you know how newer cars and your cars tell you how much distance you have left with how much gas you have in the tank. So Strava and Garmin do this with when you have a power meter hooked up to your Garmin, and it gives you an estimated distance based on a couple factors: your speed, obviously, your heart rate, and your power. And I want us to think about that and pragmatically, or align it with some other thoughts, because I think we have to analyze some things. We don't have to, but I'm going to analyze some things, and I want you to think deeply about this, if you will, or just consider I think deeply about this, because this is my journal and I want to talk about it. So what if there was, this is distance, but what if there was something that analyzed and estimated how much life you have left? How many more years would you live based on the way you're treating your body right now? Based on, it took into, like, obviously your health and nutrition. It analyzed, it was kind of tapped into your hard drive, if you will, and looked at exactly how your circulation was and how your organs are functioning, how your brain is functioning, how your heart is functioning, everything. And it took all that into consideration. Then it took how it reacts to exercise. Let's say there's a treadmill stress test thrown in there, there's a echocardiogram, there's all these things thrown into it, and you were able to do a complete analysis all the way down to your DNA, down to your what is your lifespan according to your DNA, and according to how much, you know, your cells, and how are your cells reacting, and how are they, you know, aging, if you will, and are you able to get anaerobic still, or anabolic still, and still gain and make muscle? Are you catabolic all the time and you're breaking down things? So it takes all that in consideration. Instead of a distance, an estimated distance, it gives you an estimated lifespan. Would you be interested in knowing that? Because I think we're at that verge, and I've heard we do have that capability to do that. And then you have to think to yourself, would you change things to expand that life? Is it important to you if it said you have to completely cut out, I don't know, something you really like, French fries, or let's say you're a huge fan of beer. I like beer, and I stopped drinking beer. I stopped all alcohol this year. I do that every couple of years. I take a year off. But what if the analysis said, well, if you stop drinking the rest of your life, you will, for every year you stop drinking, you're going to add 2 more years to that life distance calculator, and your life distance is going to expand. If you exercise 1 more day a week, or if you stay in zone 2 an extra 90 minutes a week, or 100 minutes a month, or whatever, and it does these calculations letting you know that if you choose, you can expand your lifespan? Would that be something that you would do? Would you think about it and think, well, I really do want to live longer. I've got a pretty good life. I would like to see my grandchild get married or graduate in med school or something like that. Would you do that? And if given the choice, and I think we get to where we live this life obliviously until we get to our older age, and then we start thinking like this. And I'm kind of old, you guys. I'm getting close to retirement, so maybe I should have thought like this when I was in my 20s and 30s. I mean, I didn't have the best diet. I had a really good workout routine. I gotta say that. I've had a good workout routine most of my life. I've never gone like a long time without doing some type of cardio and some type of weightlifting. I've always done that throughout my adult life. So I'm pretty fortunate about that. Probably the worst thing I do is my diet. And I do indulge on foods that I like, that I think are gonna be fulfilling. But I've also been pretty strict too for long periods of times, and only had cheat meals once a week, and the rest of the week it was pretty consistent. And I would say the majority of my adult life has been on a controlled and restricted diet. It hasn't been just frivolous and eating whatever is put in front of me. And I have to say that's just some of the upper middle class privilege that I'm lucky to live in, where I could think like that and be choosy. Because there's a lot of people out there that can't be choosy, and there's people that go throughout their lives with never even having 3 meals a day, and when every meal they have is whatever meal they can get. And it's unfortunate, but we have an imbalance in our society when it comes to that. We have poor people that are obese and somehow get an abundant amount of food and the wrong food and become obese. And then we also have poor people that are starving. They get literally no food and are lucky if their neighbors give them some rice or something like that. I'm not specifically talking about this country, but in other countries. So I'll leave it there, and I want you to think about how you can improve your life and increase your distance. Increase the distance of your life and make yourself live longer if you wish. I mean, perhaps you don't want to live longer. Perhaps you're ready to die naturally, or you're like, whatever, I'm gonna drink my scotch, smoke my cigars, and I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and that's how I'm gonna take that to the grave. I don't have to exercise, I don't have to do anything like that, I don't care. I'm gonna sit and relax and watch TV and live this sedentary, passive lifestyle until my life is over. And that's, I guess, freedom of choice. That's what you have. So I'm not there. I'm not in that same category, but my choice is to have a very healthy life, fulfilling life, and be able to ride my bike everywhere. That's why I made this channel. That's why I call it Ride for Life, Fit for Life. So take that with a grain of salt and understand this is the kind of content you're going to hear on this channel, because this is how I think. And I'll talk to you guys later.